Want to bet?
Then get in on the action at Sports Interaction.
The Boys of Summers are back on the diamond and March Madness is on deck.
Bet pregame, live in play, or on one of our many prop bets.
Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out.
Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN.
Or in Ontario, download the app now using the QR code at the bottom of the screen.
19 plus, please play responsibly.
Knoxy, so we've been using AG1 for about a month now. How do you feel? How good have you been feeling since you started this thing?
Honestly, I know it sounds hokey, but I love it. Like, I love the taste. That's the number one question I get asked. What does it taste like? Does it taste good? It tastes fantastic. You can have it on its own with water. You can mix it into a smoothie. Been on it for about a month now. I have it every morning, honestly. Have it with my black coffee. Gives me the energy I need to get to lunch. And I feel great. I got my nutrients. I'm not worried about having too many vegetables for dinner.
There you go.
How do you feel?
I feel good too. You know what? I do it a bit differently where I put it in the water bottle. Don't do the coffee thing, but I will go and take Winston on a baby walk outside because he's an English bulldog. Not that much exercise needed, but I have time to finish that little drink and then I come back and then I start working. I just feel like I've hit everything I needed for the day. I have the energy, like you said, and it's the easiest thing I've been taken, honestly, to feel as great as I do. And, I added a little Miro to it and it's perfect. It's the perfect drink. And, I wouldn't change anything. To be honest, I'll keep doing it for a long time. I'm pretty sure.
If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you 1 free year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/TKKS. That's athleticgreens.com/TKKS. Check it out.
She scores!
Take a moment to look up at the ceiling. You're about to bust through it.
SDPN, the PWHPA, and Sports Interaction.
Want to bet?
Presents hockey like you've never heard it before. The Knoxy and Kax Show with Liz Knox and Karell Emard.
Let's get it. Go.
Welcome back, hockey fans. You're tuned in to the Knoxy and Kax on SDPN, and we've got so much to cover after a brief hiatus following championship weekend in Southern California. We're going to get to a quick recap of how it all went down, and to lead us into it, we are so lucky to be joined today by someone who this generation of fans will know forever as the voice of women's hockey at the Olympics and World Championships. She was on the call for the PWHPA Washington Showcase leading into championship weekend. Kenzie Lalonde joins us from her home in Montreal.
Welcome, Kenzie.
Alongside Liz Knox. Thanks, guys. Long time listener, first time caller, joiner, whatever.
Oh, we appreciate you listening all these
Seriously.
2 years. And I feel like we're media side now. I feel like, this is a overdue visit from you because we have a lot to learn still. And we know that you're the person to do it for us.
Seriously.
Well, hey, Washington was a total blast and we had some fun, Liz.
We did. Let's start there. Let's talk about our Secret Dream Gap tour in Arlington, Virginia, hosted by the Washington Capitals. We had a preview, that schedule, just the way it lined up. We had a preview of what championship weekend was looking like. Why don't you tell us about Washington and how the standings stood up or rolled out for you, Kenzie?
Yeah, Washington was an unbelievable experience. A quick trip. I had never been there before, first of all, so that was pretty special. And Liz, that was our first time working together, so it was fun to get back and behind the booth for a PWHPA game. I remember calling it in Truro with the First Top when you guys came there a few years ago. For our community channel back, oh my gosh, a year or two ago, but it's a blur. And then I had called a bit in Montreal the year prior. So to then go, cover the final weekend of the regular season in Washington and seeing the growth of the association up to that point was so fun. And the games again just did not disappoint. Natalie Spooner was back and she got a goal and, Nursey went off and then we had a nice, we saw quite a few give and go plays for Stacey and Vespa's play in particular kind of stood out to me. But again, just you could see firsthand the excitement in that town, the support for the game, and just the joy for the players that they really were having fun, and the opportunity to showcase the game at the grassroots level every time they go to a stop was totally on display. And we had the joy of dancing our way through it, and
I was going to say
some good insight along the way.
I was going to bring that up at least. I'm like, yeah, I saw some moves. Like Knoxy is like known now, I think, because I don't know if you guys knew, but they left it on TV. So when we were watching in a different stop or showcase, I saw some sick move coming up, and like the dancer going, and yeah, you guys like actually it was pretty entertaining. So I want to give you guys a shout out for the dance moves here and there.
Well, we do. We like to have fun, honestly. Like
exactly.
I'm sure it's much more stern and professional when you're with, covering Olympic hockey with Cheryl Pounder. But I like to keep it light, and it's a lot of work, honestly, to be like energetic for the entire game. And we'll get to it a little bit later. Kenzie's calling 31 games at the upcoming Women's World Championship. I can't wait to ask you about that. But first, Arlington, Washington, they were fantastic for us. I felt like, it was good to have your energy and insight there because of your experience with the national team. You just know so much about these players. And so I want to know a little bit first about what research goes into it, because we learned coming onto this show, Kenzie might be on a little less sleep than normal.
Working on about like 3 hours right now, gearing up for Women's Worlds that are going to be held in Brampton. We are doing all 31 games, that we're going to have 2 commentary teams, we found out, so that's great. Again, an opportunity to get some voices in the booth, more women covering the game, sharing their insight along the way is going to be awesome. But yeah, I mean, again, it's an opportunity to share their stories, capture them in the moment of doing the sport they love. And you want to do it justice, because it's rare still to this day that we have the women's game in a televised format in a live broadcast. Yeah. So I take that seriously. I take there's some responsibility there, from, pronouncing the names right, to making sure you have a grasp on who they are as a person in addition to who they are as an athlete. And so it's long nights and days of sitting behind my computer, researching and making phone calls and going down rabbit holes of, I don't know where I ended up last night. I was learning more about Hokkaido and Japan and the growth of the sport there. So you really, like, the more I do the research, the more I'm genuinely engaged, and I'm learning more, and I want to just, before I know it, it's been 6 hours. I haven't moved, and I need to eat something. So it's fun. I find joy in that, and it's all, hopefully pays off in the moments when these athletes step on the ice, and you want to just, attract the viewers and make sure they get a good understanding of what these women have done up to that point. 'Cause, it's been a journey in their hockey career. So you want to make sure you touch on that.
And to that extent, like, good on you. And I get the rabbit holes and everything, but it is not easy to find information on women's hockey. So, like,
especially international players.
Yes, goodness. For sure. It is not easy. It's not like the NHL where you have like 100,000, websites to find the information, or wherever they played before and stuff. So, like, props to you. You probably are calling coaches, and if not, like, someone somewhere that knew someone that help Japan potentially, whatever it was. So I just think people need to understand the amount of work that's behind, what you're saying here. It was a quick couple sentences, but 6 hours is probably nothing compared to other nights that you have to search for other teams.
And it again opens that conversation of the accuracy of the statistics that follow the women's game. And what do we have? Elite prospects, if you will, and you hope that that's any indication of an accurate representation of what their numbers were. Like college, the NCAA women's program is the best. Like the way the athletic departments have taken the responsibility to be correct in their information, give bios on the girls, like that's the standard that should be set. So if you've been through that NCAA system, there's a good chance we have an opportunity to learn more about you. But as you go into international tournaments and you're covering Hungarian teams, or France's first time in a few years that they're going to be back in the top division, you got to find ways to make sure that they have their moment. And so that's what I'm trying to figure out. And all of us are. It's a team effort, and myself and Cheryl Pounder are doing our best. And it's, again, you want to give them their moment, and we want to put the work in to make that happen.
Yeah, you mentioned elite prospects. I want to shout out Bo Marchwick, who I know does a lot of work to make sure that his women's stats are as up to date as possible. But like you say, you're only one person and you're digging in deep to try to make sure everything's valid and up to date. And of course, Sport Logic has been a great supporter of the PWHPA this year, which is awesome. It makes me sound way smarter than I am.
And to be honest, too, though, at the end of the day, I was there for 3 years nonstop, and the founders and everyone were like, we're all in, we're supporting and stuff, but it is tough to get them to cover every single game. So Kenzie, to that extent, you're getting an international tournaments here. Canada, US will be covered 100%. And even at first, it was just the Canada, US games, but we were covering all of Canada. So we had just US versus Canada in terms of stats. So I was like, no, guys, we need a bigger pictures. We need to cover more so that you have some information leading up to it. And, a true head-to-head scenario of what would they rank at, or, what is Czech going to do? What is Germany about? Or are they coming up? Are they not? Are they there's so many things that we're not covering enough just yet. And it's expensive. That's the issue. And I'm going to stop right here after that.
It comes down to money, right?
It's always if you want to do it right, if you want to have the right people, the right information, and the level of stats that the men's get on the other side, it's important that we actually do what Kenzie is doing and take that pride to go and do a little bit beyond what you need to be doing and get the true, we covered a couple championships here and there. Now we're covering more. Now the PW came in. Now the PHF potentially will get there at some point. Who knows? But I hope women's hockey just gets that kind of people to be interesting and want to do these data analysis that they do online on the daily on the men's side, because stats is available.
Yeah, I think recently too, we look at the 2021 Women's Worlds that TSN put on, and it was the first time Group B division was being televised. Yeah. And so that was kind of my first start at it. And Tessa had the beam me up chair that the World Juniors had. And so we got to, speak with the athletes in the same format that we see in the men. So pushing the boundary. And when you have the opportunity to, be in Canada, be on site and try and provide them the same opportunities that we'd put into a men's broadcast, it's fun to be a part of. So this upcoming Worlds is going to be good.
It's always bigger and better. And before we get to kind of Kenzie and how you started out, where life has taken you from Stittsville to now, I did want to quickly recap our championship weekend. So we had our semifinal on the Friday in Irvine, California. We had number 4 Sonnet versus number 1 Harvey's. Now, Friday, Saturday,
big game.
The whole weekend, we just got bonus hockey after bonus hockey because we had 3 or 4 games go into overtime. So Harvey's and Sonnet, 2-1 Harvey's win in overtime. Emily Clark, the game-winning goal in that game. And
a beauty.
She had such a fantastic weekend. I got to give her a big shout out. I think she had 3 goals in the championship game. Patty, just unreal hockey from her. And then Scotiabank and Adidas. So Scotiabank was number 3 going into the weekend, playing number 2 Adidas. And Scotiabank with somewhat of an upset, I think we'd say, but a 4-3 win in overtime as well. Blair Turnbull, the hero on that one. Some great hockey on that Friday.
She did well. Then we had the seeding games on Saturday. So Adidas versus Sonnet. Unfortunately, fortunately, we'll put it that way. They had a good game too. Everyone wants to, win and make the best out of these games too. So Adidas took it in overtime as well too. And O'Neill got the game winning goal. Yeah. I heard it was a little bit of a chippy game, an intense game, and chippy. Going. Yeah. So that's just what I'm seeing. What I'm saying about the seeding game is that, people care and they want to win always. So you just saw, the intensity elevated a little bit more. And I can see a couple personality on both teams kind of going at it Adidas.
I feel like that was a theme all season long too, though. It's a chance to mash up, Canada, United States players and all that. But whenever they get on the ice,
it just happens.
Let them play, as Cheryl and I like to say. Let them play. It's awesome hockey.
It was great hockey. And then the Team Sonnet and Adidas went after that game. They were hosted by the LA Kings. So we got to go to the Kings Predators game that night. So it was
That's right.
an unfortunate situation that you're playing in the seeding game, but kind of a nice little reward that we got to have a box and the bar was open and Abby Rock was pouring drinks and Curly Girl was up there. And it was great fun. It was great fun. And then, of course, on Sunday, Championship Day Sunday, we had number 1 Harvey's versus number 3 Scotiabank in Palm Desert, hosted by the Coachella Valley Firebirds. Wow, yes. That was a lot for me to say this morning. And Harvey's with the late goal in the game. Eldridge was the spoiler in that one. Clarkey, as I mentioned, with the 3 goals. And much similar to our Washington showcase with Kenzie, like we had some video review questioning. It's the first time that we had goal review. And that one was a contested goal at the end. It was a tough call for the officials to make. I'm going to stay neutral on this because I was on the broadcast. I think my opinion was known, but after talking to some of the Scotiabank players and coaches, I think that they were, upset by that final game winning goal, but it was a great game, great exciting game.
It was,
it always seems to have interesting finishes, whether it's the PWHPA championship, like a world championship. There's always this like final element of a buzzer beater, video review, questionable, what's going on. It's a theme.
It's a theme in women's hockey, I think, to be honest. Like, and that game, I don't know what you thought, Knoxy, but I didn't think it was going to go 5-4 type of levels in terms of like the 2 goaltenders, like Mash and Renee. And I was looking, I'm like, oh my God, it's already 2. Oh, it's all like I was watching from home
in disbelief. We're like, is this actually happening? Like, and Renee has been like unsolvable pretty much all season. And then they were down, I think they were down 3-1 going into the second period.
Yeah,
they were down 3-1.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, they were, and they were okay goals, whatever. And on the other side, like sick goals on both sides, and they kept going. I'm like, okay, these 2 goalies are sick. Like they're making real saves. And then on top of it, like the girls are playing really freaking good. And they're making these goals like look like it's the easiest thing on earth.
Mash had this one glove save. Like this is the hardest part, I would say, about like my, small, very, very small career in broadcasting is like, I get fired up. Like Mash comes across, flashes the leather. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm losing my mind. And I'm like, oh wait, remain neutral. Like, I'm neutrally.
But you did say it. You're like, oh, this is a great. I heard you. No, Mash flashing the leather. You did say it.
Yeah, I think that enthusiasm is important because it's raw, it's natural. Like, you're a fan first, a former player first as well. So it's natural. And I think, I don't know, personally as a viewer, it's kind of nice to hear that enthusiasm because everyone at home is thinking the same thing most likely as well. Like it's the best of the best.
Well, I'll keep doing it. I just have to always remind myself not to swear on the national broadcast because like you guys know me. I have a little bit of a sailor's mouth, so
you do?
I try to keep it under wraps when we're on TV. Okay, Kenzie, let's talk about you. The whole reason why we're here. Enough about me, more about me. No, I'm just kidding.
But I am glad, Liz, you didn't kill me after making you wear that amazing outfit at the awards banquet. I do just want to say thank you.
Kenzie, on that note, wait. On that note, Kenzie, I will need a picture if you have one. Oh. That would be lovely because as we are talking about this right now, we can get Maddie or Jesse to put this picture in our little
we'll have to do that.
Mistaken each when we were at Target for being an employee, first of all, because of our lanyards. We each had an experience where I had a shopper come up to me asking me a question. I'm like, oh no, sorry, it's from an event. So we were reminded again, always take your press pass off when you're going places. But I gave Liz the outfit. I'm like, go put it on.
Yes.
We're going to have some fun here. We're lucky to be here. Let's have some fun.
Like, you don't understand. Kenzie is like, I mean, like you could probably wear anything and it would be like, oh, it's Kenzie. It's so cool. You're so trendy. I put this thing on. I looked like a 4-year-old that just rolled out of a nap. And Kenzie's like, this is it. This is perfect. We're doing this. Like, we're here to bring the fun to the award ceremony. I was like, I'm a child. I should be carrying a stuffy.
I can't wait to see that. I can't wait. This is going to be lovely. I haven't seen it.
You rocked it.
It was ridiculous.
You had the shades. You had the shades.
Yes.
I was just trying.
You made it your own.
I was trying to make sure people didn't recognize me. No, I'm kidding. It was good fun, and you brought the energy to that award ceremony. So we do want to thank you first and foremost for being part of the 23-24 Secret Dream Gap Tour. As you've kind of mentioned, like you've been a part of it every little step of the way. And we're very lucky to have you. So I want to know where it all started. Take us back to Stittsville, west end of Ottawa. I almost went into like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air song there.
Born and raised.
And we understand
Not quite the same thing.
you started as a ringette player. So why don't you tell us how that transitioned into hockey?
Well, yeah, I think I had 1 year. So my dad grew up playing hockey. My brother grew up playing hockey. It was natural. I was going to be a hockey player. And in Ottawa at the time, it was called Bunny Ringette, and it was ringette for 4-year-olds. And it was, you could, play ringette, be in a team sport. At 4 years old, hockey didn't start till you were 5 years old. So my dad thought, let's put her in that, get her started in a team format, know what it's like to be on the ice before hockey starts. So I was 4 years old and played bunny ringette, and that's how the skating dream started, if you will. That's how the C cuts began, and
that's where you got your hands from too, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Silky mitts, Liz. Nah, man, I was 200-foot player, no hands. So yeah, I started playing ringette and then jumped straight into hockey as soon as you could join an association, and then grew up playing boys, switched over to the women's hockey at about U11, U12, and loved it because, you walk into the rink and you immediately walk into the dressing room and there's 23 girls and they're immediately your friends. And it's amazing. It's like, oh, we all have the same interests? Oh, cool. And a lot of the players I would have played with at the time did not go to my school. So I had, two sets of friends in a way. I had my school friends, and then I had hockey friends. So it was really fun to just have a group of great gals in my life. And that really, drew my love for the game even more. I became more passionate, kept playing, and got to the point in grade 12 where I was playing in the Provincial Women's Hockey League, or U22 Elite League now is what it's called. And playing the high, that was the highest level for women's hockey in the Ontario region at the time. And playing for the Ottawa Junior Sens, and didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was kind of sick and tired of having to miss, hanging out with friends to train, and missing family events for games. And I was kind of just at this crossroads where, like, there's more to life than hockey, but I don't want to give up the sport, but there's going to be more. I have to give up the sport eventually. So might as well figure out what else I like. And so I battled with that all through my grade 12 year, and came across a school called Mount Allison University. And lucky enough, I found the balance of both life and sport. And it was the best decision I ever made, because that's how I got started in TV.
Look at you.
And
this is a perfect transition now.
Yeah.
She's the best.
That Lady Sens team, bit of a hockey factory there.
Yes.
So grew up, yeah, exactly. Grew up watching Jamie Lee Rattray, Erica Howe, like the girls in the PWHPA, and, seeing Jamie Lee Rattray in particular, she was always the standard of her, her passion for the game. Her skating was always just like insane. I remember my dad always being like, you watch her, okay? You watch that stride. I'm like, sure. Watching. Could never get that low to the ground, but you got it. And so watching her, she started with Team Canada early, and it was fun to follow her career and getting to know kind of Erica Howe and that group. They were 2 years older than me, so I never played with them, but being in the Ottawa Sens program, you kind of overlap and hang out together. So it's pretty crazy to now see them be on the ice, winning gold, and to kind of follow their journey in the booth now. It's full circle.
That was so cool. It is. And it was like, I remember, so I coached at Colgate, Kenzie, for a bit. So we're older than you. We're going to say it here on air. I coached at Colgate, I know, frick. But I coached at Colgate, and I remember going to like Canada, that rink, and then recruiting for, I didn't recruit Jamie Lee. I played against
me.
I'm sorry.
What the hell, Kax?
I know I should have. I should have done it. You know what?
That's stride. Did I not have the stride?
Good team player, loves the game.
I should have. She's the glue. You give her. Yeah. No, I played against Jamie Lee, so it was different in college. But after that, so maybe it was even after you, Kenzie. To be completely honest, it was a I graduated in 12. So let's put it this way. When did you come in? So, and then I coached for a couple years, and anyways, it's, it was a great, my point was to say that it was a great program that a lot of people, you know, came out of this program, like Rebecca Leslie, Natasha Ternowski as well too. And then there's even like other players that I've encountered that are either playing or stopped playing after that came out of that program, and Luke Richardson, and I just, the whole...
Yeah, he was our coach,
former NHLer.
He was awesome to chat with, too. I wonder, how was it to be coached by him, Kenzie?
It was awesome. It was the final year, like in my grade 12 year, and again, just, he brought in, you know, his coaching staff, Dagger and Chopper were their nicknames. Great guys. And
Dagger and Chopper.
They were awesome.
That's great.
And just, you know, they cared and they wanted us to do our best, and again, cared about how we were doing away from the rink and what was next for us and what would be a good fit for us. They really cared about those things. And so it was probably my favorite year of hockey ever. And a lot of those girls I'm still friends with to this day. And I actually ran into Luke when he was here coaching with Chicago, playing the Canadian. So I went up to him, and I hadn't really seen him in a few years. I'm like, hey,
oh my gosh.
And it was cool to reconnect and, see, you know, his career, and Morgan's now teaching down in the States, and the family's just incredible, and the work they're doing with the DIFD Foundation. It's remarkable, and it was fun to have the opportunity to play with Morgan and have Luke as my coach, and, you know, proud to be a former Ottawa Senator alum and wear the Senators logo on my chest for a few years. It was kind of cool to have that association with an NHL team.
Yeah. I love that you shouted out DIFD. It's an organization that we try to drop anytime we can. There's a lot of personal connections, obviously, in the women's hockey world to that organization. And I want to know, okay, so you landed on Mount Allston. Sounds like coaches were there to help you through it. Were there any other schools that were in the mix, or as soon as you found Mount A, you were like, nah, this is it for me?
Plattsburgh.
Nice.
Little SUNY school. I remember I toured it, and it was right around like Christmas time in my grade 12 year, and the girls were still there because they had a game, I think, on the 28th or something, or 29th. And I remember just being like, oh, so you guys don't go home for Christmas? And they're like, we had maybe 2 days. And I remember thinking, I don't know
if I can do that.
I don't know if that's going to be the balance that I was looking for. So the facility was amazing. The coaches were awesome, and the girls loved the game. But it was kind of just that realization of, is that what I want my next chapter of my life to look like? And it, you know, I hemmed and I hawed, and I had a student teacher that was a graduate of Mount Allston University, and it was her who played hockey there that pulled me aside one day and recommended I check out her alma mater. And so that's how I went to the Maritimes for the first time on the recruiting trip, met the coach, met the girls. A small town, Sackville, New Brunswick, maybe 2,500 people, and it just felt right. And the small little grocery store in a small little town, no one really on the highways. And I wanted to call that place home, and I loved it. And to this day, I'm so proud to have gone to that school, because again, that's where I scratched my itch for wanting to get into television.
And you're downplaying yourself a little bit here.
I was going to say,
tell our listeners, okay, you were captain of the Mounties, which is a great name for Mount Allston Mounties. You captained that team. You were also on the dean's list studying commerce. So you clearly, the balance worked for you. You found the right amount of, discipline for the game, and also enjoying, as you say, the culture of the East Coast. I want to know, did you find your degree in commerce helped to your career path in broadcasting?
So great question, Liz. I haven't been asked that in a very long time. Yes, in a few ways. One, I grew up watching SportsCenter every morning and thought how cool it would be to work in TV one day. Didn't think much of it. So then thought, okay, when I was going to go to university, let's do business. Maybe I'd do sports marketing or work front office for a team. Maybe there could be a media role there one day, but never really jumped into any interviewing or picked up a camera by any means. And so Mount Allston had a business program, and I thought, okay, here we go. Let's let's do the business degree. Maybe I'll go on and do a master's in sports management. So that was kind of my headspace into why I chose that program. And I really did love business and marketing and operations and, you know, the why businesses invest in certain companies and stuff like that. And so the big picture side of things really helped me when I'm in this industry and understanding the business side to broadcasting and TV and the work that goes in to make broadcasts come to life. So I think having an foundation of the transaction side of why things happen and, you know, some of the reasonings behind all of that has helped me. But also, I think also while I was doing the business program, I was in my final year of university. An article was written about my final year, what was next. And I told the journalist who was doing the local newspaper article, my little kid dream was to be on SportsCenter talking about sports in some capacity. So he wrote that and it was published. And then the athletic director emailed me, Pierre Arsenal, an amazing guy. And I thank him to this day. And he sent me a note saying, would you want to host video segments for our athletic department? Like you know the athletes, you have the personality, you might as well start interviewing them and helping us build our online space. And I said yes and said, sure, let's do this.
That is so cool.
I always had this little kid dream. I'm never going to know unless I try. So I tried, and I had my friend with this camcorder that we rented it from the communications department. Half the time we would film over the video, so we'd have to retake it, and I could never get the microphone to work. So it was just terribly produced stuff. But our athletic director said, have fun with it. And I appreciate that. So from that moment on, I started to gravitate towards, you know, volunteering and finding new ways in addition to my degree in playing hockey to see if after I graduated, is this something I want to do long term? So I'm glad I hosted those videos because that's how it kind of started.
Okay, this is sick. You go after me, but I got goosebumps and my eyes got watery.
Same.
For like just a little bit of an article. I think I'm soft right now this week. Maybe, I don't know, but legit, that was so cute because, I mean, the article, I just love that, like, you get an opportunity from this and then the journalist knowing that probably as he is writing this, it could, you know, help you to go somewhere after. And
I think it's
shout out to your athletic director. Still,
it's a small school, so I knew the guy writing the article. So naturally, you're more comfortable and you're more honest. And I was like, "You want to know what the dream was?" The guard was down, and I had no problem being like, "So I'd have my bowl of Fruit Loops every morning, watching SportsCenter, thinking how cool it would be to talk about sports for a living." And I was surprised he wrote that. And again, to have my athletic director
step in
see
and
something
help
and give me an opportunity, I'm forever grateful. Yeah,
that's so cool. And last episode, you probably haven't had time to catch up on it, Kenzie, so I won't hold you to this. But our last episode, we were like answering questions from Twitter, and one of the questions was like advice for somebody trying to like break into the sports space, women's sports space. And like my very roundabout, terrible advice was just like exactly as you're saying, like manifest it and then like put yourself out there. Like it's such a scary thing to do, especially being in front of the camera or behind the mic, because especially if it's like real time recording, I still get a little anxious when we go live on TV and I'm like, don't say anything stupid. Don't say anything stupid. Don't get yourself canceled. Don't say anything stupid. But you know what I mean? Like just the fact that, as Kax said, like the fact that you were willing to just be like, yeah, this is what my pipe dream would be, thinking nothing of it, thinking like, oh, there's no way this is going to turn into anything, but I'll just say it because why not? It's so cool. I got chills as well, Kax. That was really cool. So then,
I think.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
To go to.
You go first.
Oh my God, Jesus. We need sleep, people. I think it goes back to, again, having that courage to put yourself on the line, to put yourself out there, because I think in media, in whatever capacity in front or behind the camera, you're only going to learn by doing. And you know, I'm grateful that someone gave me an opportunity to try it. And yes, it was out there in the world and it is what it is. And people watched me learn, but you have to have the courage and you have to be okay with that. It's hard. It's hard. People are going to have an opinion as you're doing what you love to do. But again, that's how it kind of got started for me. And so I always encourage people to just put yourself out there, try something, pick up your phone, film a video. Like, you're only going to learn by doing. It's never going to be this, you have to, I guess, try your best to just find an opportunity to try it.
Yeah. And then rewatch yourself and learn from it and see what you can improve.
I'm out.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it, but it is one thing. And then the other thing, I wasn't thinking about that last episode, Knoxy, but I think that any conversations that you're having with people, just remember that like these people might at some point help you in the long run. So just pay attention. Care for what they say. Be there, be present. Kenzie, I would assume that whatever conversation you've ever had with that athletic director prior to this little moment, you were, paying attention to the guy, listening to what he was saying, or like shooting the shit and just being a good person with him. And then he thought of you because he knew a little bit more of you when this came up. You know what I mean? Like, so I value like a little conversation with your neighbor sometimes, like someone at the bar, at the restaurant, whatever it is, just be nice, be you, and see what could come out of it. Cause you never know. Like, I just think it's so big.
I think and now looking at what has happened over the last few years, like, it's taken a lot of work, but it takes a little bit of luck, and it takes 100%. People to see something in you and want to give you a chance. So there is that piece to it.
Yeah. Be nice, be kind,
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, like, now that I go all philosophical about it, I think because I had nothing to lose. Like, it was just me, myself, and I. And I'm glad that that's how I fell in love with this industry, was just that raw desire to interview an athlete, share their personality, and just be that bridge between like someone watching and helping get their message out, just trying to facilitate that conversation so that, like what you guys do, you know what I mean? Like, you just want to steer the conversation and give them their moment.
Yeah. Well, and the authenticity does sell. Like, it's something that's very consumable these days. People they want behind the scenes looks. They want a real look at who people are. And I think, especially in women's sports, like, there's a huge area of opportunity there to really get to know, the players, their stories, the coaches and their stories, officials. Like, we've just barely scratched the surface of who these people are, as athletes on the ice. And then, as you're saying, like, there's just so much more that we can learn about them. And we will get to that. I wanted to ask before we jump to more about the upcoming women's worlds. You worked for a short time at U Sports back in Ottawa. And then you had the opportunity to come back to Eastlink. So come back out east. Maybe talk us through like that time as we're, kind of discussing opportunities, and, you just never know where this crazy career world will take you. So just walk us through kind of that phase of your life. I'm sure it's like goes by in a blink, right?
Yeah, but it was hard. It was that transition coming out of hockey where I'm like, okay, so what's next? When the clock strikes 5 p.m. and I'm not going to the rink, what am I doing with my life? So it was challenging, but I knew I wanted to try this sports media world more. And I was debating, do I do a broadcast journalism program? Do I try and just start applying to jobs? What do I do? And so when I moved back home to Ottawa, I just started putting myself out there again and started volunteering with the local Rogers TV there, and started doing camera work on their daytime show. So I was camera 2. I was that wide lens.
Come on.
Shit. Look at you.
Because I wanted to know what it was like to be in a studio and to record a live show, and what does that look like?
Wow.
And I learned that there. And then during that time, I applied to be an article writer with U Sports, and I told them my story, and I had the videos of my athletic department, and they got back to me and said, well, we want to build, we want to bring more personality to our social. Would you want to host some social media stuff with us? And I said, oh my gosh, yes, that would be amazing. So being once you're removed from being a U Sport athlete myself, I felt I had that perspective of what these athletes are going through. I had just graduated, and so I had the opportunity to go to the Vanier Cup and to go to the Capital City Hoops in Ottawa and capture the behind the scenes of what was going on, interview some of the players, and kind of get that live events feel for what you want to look for at a championship. And I remember interviewing the mascots and doing a dance competition with the GG mascot. And
That's amazing right there.
Playing like trivia with the alumni and playing like 2 truths and a lie with the truths. And they were like the halftime show for the Vanier Cup that year in 2017.
Yeah.
So it was all just me looking at things being like, ooh, I would want to see that if I was
right. I was just going to ask how much of this is like your own creativity and how much of it is somebody being hey, have you thought of this?
They were literally like, here's how you log in. Have fun.
That's incredible.
So I just ran around and tried to capture the spirit of the thing, as my old coworker Mav Skillis always used to say. So I tried my best to do that. And along the way, I kept, I actually started, I always forgot about this because it was, again, short. I started working full time for a finance and accounting firm. And I was about 3 months into it because I needed to pay some bills.
Yes.
And thought, oh, this is what a corporate life could look like. Oh, this is kind of cool. 9 to 5, checked out. I got to go home and watch the game as just a fan. Oh, this is interesting. And so I had about 3 months of that. And then got a kind of a dream phone call. It was the manager back at Eastlink Community TV in Halifax asking if I'd be interested in moving there full time, working in sports broadcasting, and also if I'd be interested in play-by-play. And I remember being like, is this real? I remember taking a phone call in the bathroom at the accounting firm being like, oh my goodness, I got to think about this. Okay, well, I'll get back to you or whatever. And he was like, okay, well, let us know. This was like early December-ish. And he said, we need you here by January. So let us know. And so I quickly had to make a decision. Am I doing this? Am I quitting what maybe could be a corporate lifestyle to jump in head first? And I remember speaking with my mom and I was like, well, I'm never going to know if this is what I want to do unless I try. So let's do it. So I
have to,
quit the job and had about 2 weeks over the holidays to get there, move to the Maritimes, go back to the East Coast, which I love, and moved to Halifax and started broadcasting full time. And it was unbelievable. I had got my feet wet, started hosting the Halifax Mooseheads game in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. And then within 3 months started doing play-by-play. And then, towards the summer, I was doing soccer and we were doing high school volleyball and, we did some ringette, which was full circle. Like 6 ringette games. No, I think we did 8 ringette games in like 2 days or 3 days. It was wild. And so we did some basketball and I just, I did camera. I did produce some stories. I was hosting a daily community show. It was the full television experience.
Wow.
And I'm so grateful for my time there. Yeah.
Okay, wait, I want to go back. I want to go back to your first game that you did the play-by-play. I'm not going to lie. I don't think I could ever do a play-by-play. Knoxy?
No.
Could you?
Oh, you'd be fine.
No.
Oh, we could.
No, we would use like other terms and stuff like that. Just tell me like I'm saying pressure, but how did it feel? Like the first one in the queue, kind of going, I think it was Moosehead and Charlottetown, right? What date? Do you remember?
It was, I think March 17th. It was right after like International Women's Day. It was, the month of March. And, I had an opportunity to, it was at the time, the first time a woman was doing it on television, calling the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. So I was freaking out.
Yeah.
I was freaking out.
Yeah, let's go through this. I want to see that side. This is
play cool.
Yeah, I got this. So right?
I was very nervous because I was surprised how much like attention and how much buzz it was getting. So that's kind of what made me nervous. It was like, oh my goodness, I'm doing something for the first time and everyone's going to watch. So I had that realization of, okay, that courage to do something while others are watching. This is going to be the real deal. And I was so nervous. And the night before, I got a phone call from Leah Hextall, who knows the first thing about what it feels like to have the weight of your gender on your shoulders when you go into moments like these. And she talked me down off the cliff. Let me tell you that. I was panicking. Like I still didn't even have proper notes. I had like two sets of notes I was going to use and I didn't even know which one. And she's like, look it. You know what you're doing. Calm down. You're going to be fine. Be yourself and be present. That is the best thing you can do is just live in the moment when you're calling these games. The stories, the notes, that'll find its place if the moment's there, but just be present. And I'm so grateful for that. I have to give credit to my color commentator, Logan Delaney, who reached out to her and suggested, hey, if you have a time, could you call my coworker? She could maybe use some advice here. So I'm really grateful that he did that. And to this day, I'd say I'd call her a friend. We've talked often since then about, the pressures of it all and what it feels like to, again, not wanting to fail because we care so much. Yeah. And you're worried. At the time, I was worried, well, what if this doesn't go well? And then what if that hinders future opportunities for women who may be offered an opportunity? Mm-hmm. So if I did the job, great. But if I didn't, well, someone might think twice before they call a female to, do play by play. So you were kind of battling that. And Leah knew what that was like firsthand. So it was a sleepless night, if you will. And then the day came and I had so much fun. And my color commentator, Logan's amazing. And, it's a team effort. And again, that's what I love most about television is that to make that broadcast happen, Liz, first name Karell, like it is a whole team. And that is why I love it is you have to lean on one another to make it possible. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's why, I have found my new team, if you will. So like, my teammates are my color commentators and my camera operators. My coach is like my producer. So I'm like finding a new team. And that's what I love it. I love it. And now I get to do it all the time. And
I think your point like speaks volumes about the dignity that you do your work with, because I definitely had considered like, it's your first time doing it. You don't want to fail for personal reasons. You don't want to be embarrassed. I mean, I totally understand that feeling your first time doing live TV. But like the fact that you also feel the pressure of like, this is the first time a woman has done a Q game. Like this could really mess things up for women coming up behind me. And I think there's a really cool culture of women in sports, specifically women in sports broadcasting. Because I'm very lucky. I've had similar situations to you where I've had, somebody reach out, like Cass Campbell reach out and just be like, hey, like, my first Sportsnet game or my first national television game. And she just says, hey, like, you're good. You know this. And I'm like, she has no reason to do that. She has no reason to call me out of the blue and just say, hey, you're good. I'm like, is this real life? Like, so to your point, well, as we talk about the PWHPA and creating opportunity for women and women's sports, like certainly the PA, our focus has been majority on the athletes, but it does also create opportunity for our voices, for, Kenzie and for Cassie, and to speak about a game that you grew up loving and playing and watching. And as much as we love the NHL, of course, and the men's game and the opportunity that the Q provided to you, I mean, I think there is something significant about calling our game in our voice. It's, I love to hear it. I love to hear you and Cheryl on the call. You guys do such a fantastic job too. Like, and Izzy too. I mean, Izzy's, been in with the PWHPA and with the women's Canadian national team. I just think it's so cool to hear the opportunities that you guys are creating, not only for yourselves, but for the next, dream coming up behind you.
Yeah, like to this day, before I started working on bigger productions with TSN and stuff, my favorite game I ever called was with Izzy. When we did the first ever PWHPA game in Truro, I was on the call, she was color, and it was the first time ever I had done a female hockey game with a female color commentator. And I'm like, oh, this is it. This is what I want to do. And that was with my community channel at the time. And I even go back to like my 5th year in university when I covered my first story. We went to a local girls' high school gym and it was a basketball championship. And it was my first time ever with a real working microphone. And I interviewed the MVP and you could sense the nerves, the fear, the excitement. Her teammates are behind her, like yelling and trying to like chime in the moment. And I asked her the greatest question ever the good, solid, how does it feel to have won? So I remember asking her that and just seeing the emotion of, that fear, that anxiousness, but overall excitement of being acknowledged for the accomplishment. I was hooked. I was like, well, this is what I want to keep doing. I want to keep providing those moments for young female athletes and now I can't believe how it's grown to the best in the women's game and being a part of that and bringing it to viewers. It's just full circle. And so it's again, like when I was speaking with that young athlete, I was seeing myself in her. I was like, oh, this is what it would have been like if I was the one getting interviewed, if I was the one who just won a championship. So I see myself constantly in these interviews that I do because I know I know what that could have been like or would have been like. And I just try and, put that mindset forward when I'm in these moments.
It's almost a for the players by the players feeling, or for the athletes by the athletes. Like I love that.
Yeah, you're an athlete, Kenzie. You're with us.
Yeah. And that's why you know what to ask. That's why you know what the feelings are like and what you can, again, you were saying you're the middleman between like the fans and then discovering the athletes. And I think you grasped that really well. And I think it's because you came from being a hockey players and everything. And that's why.
Speaking of being an athlete, when I was at the Olympic Games, we got into a taxi to go to the Song Center where the women were playing, and the taxi driver turns around and he's like, "Oh, what sport do you play?" And I was honored.
So what did you say?
What sport don't I play?
Oh no, I'm just media. I just talk about it. It's like, oh, okay. I was like, nice. I still got it. Cool.
Let's go there. Like, take us through your Olympic experience. I mean, that must have been so cool, covering obviously women's hockey, but just being at the Olympics, seeing that, like the sport on that stage. Take us there.
Yeah, I think it was unique because, of course, it was a COVID game. So it was a bubble format. And so with that piece, there was this ultra sense of responsibility. I felt that you really were the bridge between these athletes in Canada back home, because they didn't have their family and friends there. They really were isolated in that way. So there was this, again, other element of wanting to do it justice, wanting to make sure you're being, capturing what was going on and being honest and, trying to give them a real look as to what the women were experiencing. It was remarkable. It again happened quickly. I was originally just supposed to be behind the scenes, and then the opportunity presented itself to go to the games and be the reporter. So I jumped on it and said, yes, let's do this. And it was a lot of structure to get there, of course, just because of the restrictions that were in place. But when we got there, it was remarkable. And to see the run Canada had was truly, I just can't believe what was happening. It was so amazing to see it firsthand, to speak with them after the games. And they speak a lot of like the culture that they built and just this energy and positivity they had while they were at the games. And we saw it firsthand. And again, Sarah Nurse, amazing. It was a quarterfinal game. She scored, and we were doing a first intermission interview, and we were getting set up, ready to do the interview. And of course, you're wearing a mask, so you can't see the face and whatever. And we're about to do the interview, and she's like, "Hey, nice eyeshadow."
Wow, that's cool.
I'm like, you're okay.
I love Nursey.
Thank you.
Oh, that's perfect.
Anyway, so it's Sarah.
That would have been a Sarah. Yeah, I don't know if you would have had that questions with other players or a couple different ones. But hey,
that was just, there was this, this positivity that they had going and this confidence that they had. And maybe that was a moment of it. I don't know, but it was just, that was something I'll always remember. I was like, okay.
That's amazing.
Talk about that, right? Like it's hard to pinpoint. It's like an it factor. And like, I'm sure we've all, experienced it to some degree, where it's like, you just get on a team and there's something about the room that's just like, we can't lose. Like, even when we're losing, like, we can't lose. And it speaks to like the comfort that she had, obviously, first and foremost with you as her interviewer, which I'm sure, is nice to have another female interviewing you at the Olympic Games. But it also speaks to just the fact that, like, we're just here playing hockey, having a good time. That's such a great story. I love Nursey. Oh my gosh. She's never complimented my eyeshadow. So consider it a huge compliment to you. We do want to talk about this 31 games coming up at the Women's World Championship in Brampton, Ontario. Okay. First, personally, for me, what is the secret? Like, are you like 2 Advils a day, an apple a day? How do you like physically,
your voice,
health wise, how do you stay healthy for 31 games over whatever it is, 12 days, 14 days, something like that? 11 days.
I haven't counted in a few days. We actually, like I was saying, we now have two teams, so it's going the workload will be balanced and shared, and which is great, and it's going to be again like kind of a full circle, because when I first did my first TSN gig and did a Worlds, I was the Group B commentary team, so we'll have two sets of teams at this World Championship as well, but it's going to be a lot, and again, we're okay with that. We want to do this. We want to put every game we can on television. We want to give it our all. So bring it on. It's kind of how I think a lot of us have this mindset. And again, it takes the full crew. We'll have two sets of directors and producers as well. Like it's going to be a good balance. And it's nice that it's back on home soil. There'll be some fun little pieces to it. It's, TSN's making this one a memorable one for the athletes that are involved. And I think it's going to, come across great, and I really hope the athletes enjoy their experience. And so now it's really just the rosters are slowly starting to come out, which is great to see. Czechia's roster was just announced, so learning the names and numbers and getting on the Google train and trying to learn as much as I can and cover the Montreal Canadiens along the way. So it's it's all about a balance.
Kenzie, have you ever lost your voice doing like okay, this is not what I'm saying here, but 15 games is what you're about to do. And like, you're talking the whole time. I'm not sure, but like, if I'm talking the whole time for like 2 hours, like whatever, 6-7 hours a day.
Yeah.
That thing is
Hall's help. Yeah. I had my first ever experience with it, with the U Sports Women's Nationals on Prince Edward Island last year. I had just covered a Halifax Mooseheads game on the Friday night, and then I drove to the island all through the night, and then got there in the morning for a 9 a.m. game, and we had 2 4-game days. Because again, I didn't want to miss it. I wanted to be part of it. It was an amazing opportunity, and by the first game on the second day, I was like, "Oh no!"
That's right.
Yeah. And it was, I would try and not talk in between the breaks, and I just had a really deep, raspy voice.
It's like late night radio with Kenzie Lalonde.
Yeah. So the finals, I haven't heard it back, but I'm sure I don't even sound like myself. I don't even know what that would have sounded like, but to see Concordia win it, to have Julie Chu, Karell, who led that whole group, hoist the trophy and watch them do it was incredible. And then we just saw the Cougars go on a run, the 8th seed.
That was a crazy game.
Seed. Sorry, Liz. I
know.
Yeah.
It's still fresh. It still hurts.
I apologize, Liz, but that final, I was there, and 1.8 seconds, that goal, I was in the stands. I'm like, I feel like there's something like Concordia's all over them, but I feel like Cougars are coming back. And sure enough, that shot, we jumped in the stands. Everyone just went everywhere. I was like, can you even believe it? And then sure enough.
Yeah, something magic happened for them this weekend. And such a cool story, as Kenzie said, coming in as the 8th seed. And it's funny, as you were saying that, I was like,
First
wow, this
time
is
ever.
just like what Izzy's weekend was like, because she was in Southern California with the PWHPA. She had to go back with Eastlink to do a Mooseheads game. And then she did, I think, all the games in French, en français, at U Sport Nationals. So want to give her a big shout out. I hope that she's
seriously,
I actually up on the rest now.
That's amazing. Good for her. I need to listen. I want to hear her now.
And as you mentioned, Kenzie, now you're with TSN as the Montreal reporter, covering the Canadiens and the Alouettes coming up next CFL season. So first of all, I wanted to know how your football knowledge is, and maybe what you're most excited for covering the Alouettes.
Because it's interesting. So I grew up obviously in the west end of Ottawa, born and raised. Now at least you have it stuck in my head, and I can never say it any other way. It was a hockey town. Football wasn't even offered at my high school. I think it was maybe offered 1 year. Just hockey was the dominant sport, and it wasn't until I went to university in the Maritimes at Mount Allison that I got to know the football guys. There was no men's hockey team, so our equivalent was the men's football program. And to this day, so many of those guys are my best friends. And I really, they'd come to our games, we'd go to their games, and that was really my introduction to the sport. I'm like, oh, I love this. And then that was right around the time that the Ottawa Red Blacks got their team back, and Henry Burris was their starting quarterback, and I became a huge fan of his. So I don't know why I'm sharing this. So much so that my first car was a 1998 Honda Accord. And I nicknamed it Henry the Honda because even though it was an older car, it was still the best. And towards the end of, Henry played till he was an older guy and he still won a Grey Cup. And so I really admired that. And that car, I love that car. It was one of my first ever vehicles. So that was kind of how I got
I feel like there's like a super innuendo happening right here.
And this is why I know football.
And I would drive that car again if you asked me.
And I can't wait to cover the Alouettes.
Yeah, so that's how I kind of got introduced to the sport. And, it's great to always see some youth sport athletes in the CFL system. And now with the leadership change and new ownership with the Alouettes, it's kind of a new beginning.
Yeah, it's exciting,
and so I'm excited to be part of that, to come in at a time when there's some newness, kind of like the Montreal Canadiens, a whole new team, new youth integrated of some younger players. So I can't wait to be part of it. Yeah. It's going to be fun.
It's kind of a clean slate.
Yeah.
That's going to be a little bit different too. Rain and sunshine. And that's going to be fun.
I had been a field side reporter back for community television. Mind you, it was high school football. And we would actually go up to the players after they immediately scored a touchdown. I could walk up to him and be like,
how did it feel?
What'd you see? Yeah. How did it feel? And,
what was your dance?
So, yeah. Talk me through that celebration. So it's exciting to now go from covering high school football to now the CFL and a league where, I kind of captured or kind of fell in love with the sport to begin with. So it's full circle.
I love that.
Sick. And really exciting.
I guess this will be kind of our last point. We want to end on, what's next. So prior to TSN snagging you up in 2022, you were named one of Sportsnet's 25 most powerful women to watch in sports. Quite an honor.
Seriously.
So what's next, Kenzie? What's the next big dream that we're going to manifest here? And we don't TSN, this is no shots at you if she says, I want to go work with the PWHPA full time or something like that. What's next for you, Kenzie? What's a big dream?
Again, I want to just stay around the women's game in whatever capacity that may be. And, hopefully Italy, the Olympic Games, yes. I can be there and be a part of it. So I would love to, again, be a part of another Olympic Games. And again, now I think also with the integration of the NHL, it's been a fun crossover, and I'm finding ways to, there's players that know, in their university days, like at Wisconsin, Cole Caulfield was at the same time Abby Rock. So there's so many of these crossovers that now I'm finding I can kind of integrate storylines and cross these leagues, cross over with the league. So I'm finding joy in that as well now. So we'll see. I don't know.
That's awesome. I hope, I wish you, that you end up and going to the Olympics and then do the call and everything. And as far as you want to take it and whatever it is. But Kenzie, you're crushing it. And we are happy and lucky that you were covering our games here and there, to be honest. I want that to be clear. You're a big deal. You're a big deal.
I'm glad you guys asked me to be on your podcast. I love your podcast.
I gotta share this.
Just lucky to be here. I should have put the shirt on.
Lucky to be here. Oh my goodness. I do have to share one last thought. When we were doing the broadcast in Washington, I have self-diagnosed, I'd say ADHD. So sometimes I'll just be off trailing and God knows what thought. And Kenzie totally queued me up for a storyline that I had worked on before the game. I was down talking to Brown's grandparents and getting information. Kenzie cues me up and I'm just counting ceiling tiles. And I'm oh shit. We came back to it. We recovered. But no, again, thank you so much, Kenzie. Your voice is an amazing thing to have in sports.
Yeah.
Certainly we love to see it on the women's game. Thank you for joining us on the Secret Dream Gap Tour. And you can follow Kenzie and our PWHPA athletes competing in the upcoming Women's World Championship from April 5th to 16th on TSN. We're going to be there. We're going to be tuning in. Kenzie, I hope to see you here in like my backyard, basically in Brampton. So
well, you guys need to bring the podcast on site and do.
We're trying. Maybe.
it might
Who
be
knows?
happening. It might be
You know?
happening. We're
Teaser
working on
here,
it.
Kens.
Good.
Yeah.
We will bring you all the tea that weekend, like actual tea, not like not drama.
Tea and Halls?
Yeah, tea and Halls.
Tea and
are
Halls.
coming.
Yeah. What's your favorite flavor? At least
The
if we
red
get it.
one. I think it's cherry.
Courtesy of the Knoxy and Kax show
Yeah,
on SDPN.
Ken.
Kenzie, can't wait to see you and hear your voice covering women's worlds. Thank you again so much for being on the show.
Love you guys.
Merci.
Thanks for having
Aw,
me.
love you.
Merci.
Aw.
Merci.
Be back next week. We have another episode of Knoxy and Kax here on SDPN. Thanks again, guys.
The Knoxy and Kax Show on SDPN, produced in partnership with the PWHPA and presented by Sports Interaction.
Wanna bet?
Follow Knoxy and Kax on Twitter at 27Knoxy and at Karell Mard. The views expressed are those of the individuals and are not necessarily those of the PWHPA. Check out sdpn.ca for more Knoxy and Kax and the rest of the SDPN crew.
She scores!